giving of my children for adoption. I search your aisles, thick with shelves of abandoned treasures. Thrift store, I have walked miles in the shoes of others, stuffed your purses with my pennies, pulled your still warm sweaters over my outstretched arms, scrambled eggs on your well-used pans. All this giving and taking, letting go and selecting, discovering and forgetting. This place throbs with hope and heartbreak. Now, leaving with heavy new bags, packed with old picture frames, t-shirts, scarves, and dishes, I walk into the bright afternoon light. I am stopped by the red, very rich tree standing outside the store in the sun. Winter robins still snack on all the branches, wearing their original feathers and colors, singing their familiar songs, not a worry in the world. I watch and wonder, did one robin ever fly through the open thrift store door to check out new feathers and colors? I wonder, are they happy in their old feathers? But I don't know. I really don't know the inner lives of robins. Should I just read one and you go, Fred? Because I don't want to mess up the timing.
Okay. Who are you wanting?
Just read one.
Yeah, yeah.
I just read it.
Well, thank you all for coming, and I just wanted to say, don't let this moment pass unattended. Don't let the autumn moon march down the sky alone. An owl is calling from a far-off branch. She is calling you. Don't let the river journey unaccompanied. Put aside your thoughts, let your mind ripple like the river. The sun will be waking. He will require your presence for his long, high arc in tribute to the earth. Don't let any single moment lose your attention. If you turn away, all creation will fail. And when you return, you will wonder why you, like the falling autumn moon, are completely alone. Okay. The first poem needs no introduction, so I'm not going to give it. Everybody knows. Everybody knows. If you know poetry in Columbus, you know Steve Abbott. Here we go. See?
We hugged inside the door, wordless. What could I say? In the living room, I sat on the couch without speaking. A new rug, something modern, offered splashes of color. My friend slumped into her oversized chair and stared at the coffee table, where exclamation points on a magazine cover promised serenity in weeks. We looked at each other. A clock chimed upstairs somewhere. We sat. A calico cat stepped slowly from the kitchen, one paw, then another and another, until it curled near her feet. We sat. The furnace kicked on and droned like monks. My friend looked up, blinking, haggard. She sighed, looked down into her clasped hands. She shook her head and stared into the kitchen. I said nothing. The shush of rush hour traffic furnished the calm of an empty beach. We gazed across the expanse of our shared silences as waves broke and receded. A photograph in a silver frame smiled from a bookshelf. Tell me about him, I said. She sighed and sighed again and barely parted her lips. My mouth tugged at its edges. I nodded and listened. Called Tony. This next one was picked up by the Amsterdam Review a few months ago, and I guess it addresses some of the issues we're facing here in our country right now. It's called transplant. It's warmer where she's come from. Here, autumn's leaves describe a temporary loss, something replaceable in the next cycle of sun. Unlike the even-toned story she told of men in street clothes forcing the door, beating her father into a dark sedan. My friend spades a neat circle around the sprout, deep cuts clear of root ball and its tortured push through Ohio clay. She's already dug a new hole, bowl extra wide, to keep the transplant from drowning in a place like the impermeable cup it came from. She works without gloves. Dirt inks her fingernails. A worm drops from her hands like a forgotten scar into a patch of earth scabbed with graves. The postman arrives, notes the change in weather on his way to the mailbox, drops a bundle of letters with unfamiliar stamps whispering through the slot. Nothing survives dangling in air, unrooted, she says. Her fingers pack new soil with peat, press the plant among what already thrives. She says, everything needs a place to stand. I'm not going to do a lot of talking in between poems. I know it sometimes helps for people to kind of stop listening a lot in between. So I'm just going to go right into this one. It's called Mosaic. The platter, a treasure from my mother's mother's mother, explodes across kitchen tile Thanksgiving morning. Just like the blue mug friends brought from Prague to be knocked from my hand by a joyful child. It slices my thumb as I gather shards. This book from the college roommate in Florida, dead of cancer, his home no longer a haven, where mixed pieces of our lives came together, glowing in twilight. And all the plans crushed when a distracted driver T-boned my cousin's car at 9th and Summit. I collect the parts to add to this expanding version of the past. This sliver of dark rubble from one of my many lies that left someone broken. I can't recall where this dream came from, that first trip to the ocean, or that week in a mountain cabin south of Asheville. Years collapse in slow motion, an evolving patchwork of ruins and remains that will never be complete. Each piece splashes a chip of color on a tomorrow taking shape in clusters of fragments filled with vacancies. I guess one thing that's disturbed me, or disappointed me, I suppose, about the poetry scene is the whole idea of developing a brand, like corporations. And so this is called Guidelines for a TikTok Influencer Shaping the Brand. First, imagine yourself a logo. You're competing with Apple and the NBA. Don't shrink from the rush, the G-force that says you've arrived. You'll be a star in your own galaxy. Buy shirts in XL to accommodate your growing sense of self. Embrace relentless self-promotion by shoveling trivia around the clock to feed the crowd's endless appetite. Don't sell yourself short as your Q rating rises in the heated exchange of what's new. This is how the image gels, the payoff in shares of what you're becoming, a mirror where others find themselves. Post hourly updates to maintain your aura. Thrill to your host of followers and accept that being liked enough will confirm you were destined for the adulation you seek. The whole world a Twitter with the product, your name flaring on the market's tongue. Don't stop to think. You might sink deep, where no audience wants to go in the age of click-link. Accept envy as part of the price. A pantheon of heroes has made sacrifices to reach Olympus. So don't flinch from the sear and sizzle, the smell of burning flesh. It's nothing but your own yearnings marking you for life. set that was way too serious. I'm going to read this one, Landmark. It is only here when we stop to rest that we begin to understand the myth of movement as progress. We scratch the itch, rub sore spots, make plans. Tomorrow or next week, another place, a more comfortable sleep. There is no easy way across this distance. So many paths lead to bones. What were once maps have given us all the light they can, become ashes in cook fires, winding behind on shifting terrain, as again the moon, like a bored lover, rolls slowly over and away. Hindsight will never reveal the miles crossed and recrossed within us, days of dust, or the endless wind shouting doubt in our ears. Still blind to the change that happens wherever people pause, historians will say we waited too much, perhaps accuse us of wasting time and the little life we have. They will speculate about our intentions and our sanity, and even we will wonder how we could laugh with mouths so dry. We have been given another day and we are breathless, eyes rarefied as the air. Another sun cooks slowly on a blue and shuddering line of pine, the incense of its bed lining our dreams, an altitude of sighs, you and I, hesitant. You and I testing footholds, stream seekers using yesterday for firewood. You and I, sparks rising to dance for a moment in the stars' last light, in the mystery of what led us here. You and I, taking Tiger Mountain, throwing great heights down behind us. Okay, I guess I'd be doing you a disservice if I didn't give you some darkness. So,
Thanks.
you're welcome. That's part of poetry shout. This one speaks for itself. It's called Postscript, How the Transition Happened. The libraries didn't burn, but faith and hysteria ignited rumors that left whole shelves in ashes. Come dawn, we'd gasp and squint at the shroud hung in the sky of a planet determined to sleep in wildfire. Dark columns of wind spun history into fairy tale, and we sang soundtracks to soundtracks of sirens and gunfire, still festive in our tranquil distance. Distortion became the gross national product as murdered children stopped being news and arsenals of rage swelled. Heads bowed, we fell back into our screens and shot videos of cats to post online, dreaming how much we'd be liked. We hoped accepting the dark would dispel the future we feared when soldiers took the streets. Spreadsheet jackals devoured the housing market as beggars went to double shifts, elbowing the new arrivals. Provincial governors swung sacred texts to drive women back to their knees. Every new lie arrived wrapped in fantasy and billowing flag. Our promised wealth and salvation rebranded as identical twins. That was usually good enough for the next election cycle, or one more day. Drowned in doubt, everything lost shape and weight. We floated without a compass or destination. Soiled hands massaged our illusions as their fingers closed on our throats till we saw stars. We shrugged, resigned to the rising heat, and became unconscious mourners at daily wakes, where we prayed and circled yet another coffin of joy, already moaning our longing for everything we could have done. But there remains hope. This is called refuge. As clouds thicken, the dark bulk of a maple shadow looms in heat that turns our strength to wax. Drooping like spent perennials, we slip slices of lemon into sweating glasses. Tunes of solace and resolve ping in our ribs. tin music in a cave. Each day presses us with too much awareness. Every shifting boundary leveling shelters we've built and leaving us stateless. Our only refuge is this circle. Even in the shade, knowing what we know, we can offer no promise of relief. Only the curve of our gathering, how its indistinct art breathes and takes us in. Thank you all, and I want to thank Nim and Fred for putting this together. It's always a treat, and I'm going to close with this one. It's a pantoum, and of course the pantoum form is really good for things that have a certain amount of recursiveness to them. So this is called Pantoum from Limbo. This is what's called customer service. I've been sitting here at least an hour while some awful music tattoos my ears. Your call is very important to us. I've been sitting here at least an hour scrolling and following links on TikTok. Your call is very important to us. Thank you for continuing to hold. Scrolling and following links on TikTok, I mutter vile but clever curses as thank you for continuing to hold. The awful music loops and begins again. I mile vile but clever curses as the tune drills its earworm into my skull. The awful music loops and begins again. We appreciate your patience. All of the tune drills its earworm into my skull. This will repeat until I want to scream. We appreciate your patience. All of our associates are busy helping other customers. This will repeat until I want to scream. Yet another 10 minutes and I'm reminded our associates are busy helping other customers. You may want to hang up and try again later. Yet another 10 minutes and I'm reminded your call is very important to us. You may want to hang up and try again later. I'm short of breath and my stomach hurts. I'm about ready to slit my wrists. I'm short of breath and my stomach hurts. My brain is a volcano ready to erupt. I'm ready to slit my wrists while some awful music tattoos my ears. My brain is a volcano ready to erupt. This is what's called customer service.
Thank you, Steve. Our next poet is in big demand. She has two separate readings in two separate places today, but we get her first. Rikki Santer is with us. Please welcome her.
Thank you, Fred. That was a really gracious introduction. I appreciate that. Thank you so much, Mim and Fred, for inviting me. What a stellar group of poets. It's really an honor here. And I do want to apologize to you two and all my colleagues, because typically I'd be staying here until the end to hear everybody. But I have an opportunity today to celebrate a restaurant that I'm hoping a lot of you remember. How many of you remember the Kahiki Supper Club? Yeah. Last month marked 25 years since it was torn down. For 40 years, it was the largest Polynesian restaurant in the United States of America. And people adore it. I never got to see it. It was torn down by the time I moved here. But boy, it's a long story. I won't bore you with it, but I got really obsessed and wrote a poetry collection. And every time I talked to somebody about the Kahiki, somebody had a story. And so today, at the Huli Huli Polynesian restaurant in Powell, and if you haven't been there, oh, you should go. I mean, you can get a zombie there. They are dedicating a reproduction of one of the giant Moai statues that was at the front. Those of you who were there, you remember that, they were in the front. And the rebar was salvaged, and then they did a fundraiser, and they're going to dedicate it by lighting it. And I have been graciously invited to read a poem before they light that hand. So that's why I'm leaving early. So because I love that restaurant, even though I was never there, I'm really grateful to be there. So I want to read the poem that they've asked me to read. And it's actually the last poem in the collection, because I was thinking about, well, how do you preserve a memory of a place that was so important to so many people? So this poem is called Kahiki in the Museum. At the turn of a dark labyrinth hall, an amber glow lures you to the threshold of diorama. Inside, against a midnight wall, sparkling strands of teardrop beads serve as a placeholder for a liminal landscape extinct. Artifacts under spotlights, bathroom clamshell sinks, lipstick-stained napkins and bite-marked straws, from virgin lips, a pyramid of etched glassware, plastic volcano erupting in gleeful streams of snapshots that incriminate with outdated fashion, a trail of matchbooks, each preserving like a manger, a baby tooth. I'm sorry, my glasses are kind of fucked up, it's hard to make. Let me start again. A trail of matchbooks, each preserving like a manger, a baby tooths passing, bread baskets and rolled hand towels, hiding engagement rings from modest to brazen, a cotillion of peacock chairs where brides to be reigned like princesses, heaping bowls of wilted fortune cookie messages freed from the lives in jewelry boxes and wallets, and a corner booth strewn with confetti of tiny umbrellas, altar where widows and widowers return alone to rekindle the yearning that was flanked by two giant moai, flaming with the promise of wonder. I want to read 3 poems from my new collection that came out this year, Shepherd's Hour, and this was a collection where I tried to explore and interrogate the culture and history I inherited as a Jewish American, very secular Jewish American woman growing up in Northeast Ohio in a suburb. I want to read, I have sections here about culture, I have sections about history, but I want to read 3 poems from my family section because they're very timely in terms of the holidays. The Jewish high holidays are coming up in, what, like about a week and a half? And it's a combination of the Jewish New Year and also the Days of Atonement. And I've always been philosophically attracted to that pairing because it's a time where we repent for our, misfortune and the sins perhaps that we've committed. But it's also a time to hope that we'll be inscribed in the Book of Life for that year. This poem makes a reference to a ram's horn that is traditionally blown during the Rosh Hashanah's service, and that goes back to the tradition of the ancient Jews. And also you should know before I read this poem that my mother suffered decades and decades from multiple sclerosis. The poem is titled by the name of the ram's horn. It's called Shofar. The ram's horn carries fire from camp to camp. I am camped deep shoulders into shoulders in a packed shul on the high holidays. 2 mornings, 2 evenings, my father's damp palm as he holds my hand during each service. I'm home from college, stand-in for my bedridden mother. Raw horn, no mouthpiece, pure breath that launches one steady blast. The shofar's tribal question penetrates across centuries. My father squeezes my fingertips. Our faces turn to each other, eyes moist, heads nod, then 3 broken notes, quivering staccato, and 1 long blow. High above the bema from the choir chamber, a woman with lustrous silver hair and Stradivarius delivers the haunting melody of Kol Nidre. My father whispers, she is the one who introduced him to my mother. Papa, here with me at synagogue, stained fringes of his prayer shawl, sanctuary vibrating with atonement. Mother at home with decaying nerve fibers, plate of apple slices, and honey in her lap. On this clear day of Rosh Hashanah morning, I crouched in the shade of a pin oak, placing smooth stones on my parents' headstones, keeping their souls in my world without synagogue, without ram's horn, without the flame of certainty flickering in the evil. Okay, another part of my history growing up is my parents got married really late in life. I mean, they were in their 40s. I never knew my grandparents, and I ached to know them. And so I thought it would be appropriate to write 2 poems for them. And some of you may know it was National Grandparents' Day last Sunday. Did anybody acknowledge that? Yeah. So I thought, okay, this is a timely way for me to acknowledge this in the ether, my 2 grandparents. So by way of letters, I'll first read the poem from my grandfathers. It's called Dear Isaac and Joseph. The black pointer with gold tip glides like a finger right to left, beyond what the census shows, and leaves me at the margins of grandfathers whistling from front porches. Breath-length memories I am too late for, but for. No fingertips on my eyelids, no woolly voice calling me to your lap. Yet thistles punctuate your graying beard of what you said when you fled to heave your family from buckling Lithuanian floors. The peddler algorithm, let's do it again. The peddler algorithm of your honey and brine, battering schmantas door to door, your American storefront, stubborn for closing on Sabbath. In your parlor, frayed stacks of the forward and socialist broadsides, bone dice in your pocket, pinochle in back rooms, late nights at the kitchen table, sitting in the almost dark. You wait for Roosevelt, draw in a braided wax taper to light your cigar. It's so rewarding, you know, when you're caught in your reading and you either get a laugh, like we gave Steve lots of laughs, but you also hear, thank you, that's a real gift, I appreciate that. Okay, so this is for my grandmas. It's called Dear Chava and Rikki. And by the way, I'm named after Rikki. I never met her, but my name Rikki is orientation of that. Dear Chava and Rikki. If somewhere there's a star chart that will lead me to you, I would no longer lament you were never mine to keep. Where are your grandmother's stories that freight their magic? Hive of honeybees still busy in your soul. Your head a melancholy violin as I crouch into the wildflowers outside your shtetl cottage. Clouds like a school of herring, just a few strands from your hairbrush now in my locket. Your jelly jar of buttons, your red leather-lined table, inlaid mother of pearl belting its belly. Your butter cake masterpieces, your feasts of pepperfish and tip of the tongue stews. You rub a hen's just leg egg across your lips, keep seven cradles rocking with your foot, herd gaggles of offspring under clotheslines, your daily allowance of sliced in half Kalamata olive, silk stockings, never your allies, but hairpins steadfast in the dark halls of asthma and arthritis. You phantoms of old age, praying for dew each morning, and me forever hollow, yurtside candle loyal, wishing I had had a chance to kiss the wrinkles around your knuckles. All right, I'm going to read one last poem. And I am just over the moon to announce this is from my new collection, just coming, it'll be out next year. I just signed a contract for it. Geez, we're in such dark times, so I wanted to close with this poem because I think it's heavy on all of our hearts. The poem is called Now. When I say I don't know anything anymore, I mean the compass is confused by its own magnetism. Road ahead or road behind? And when I say magnetism, I mean the safety lock forgot its password, and all words have passed their expiration date. But I do hold a key, many thanks, because my eyes are bloodshot from snickering. And when I say snickering, I mean what else can one do when guns are long as arms and tongues are greedy forked? And when I say forked, I also mean the heart of all the fast food chains is beating faster than the world. And when I say chain, I mean the uniform, who work there serving up what won't be guaranteed. And it seems that we're all just furniture that can't make room enough for each other. And breaking the fourth wall is never enough, hinged to this broken experiment. So pass the gruel or your sticky love poem, and when I say love poem, I mean what the wizard tried to convince us of. And yes, Colonel Jessup, I can't handle the truth. And when I say truth, I mean where will the last of us be going, and what does the sore-eyed moon think of us now?
Everywhere. You see him down at the streetlight, Joe, and lo and behold, there he was, interviewing the author of the best-selling book, James. Percival, whose last name I don't remember, but I do remember the name of the next poet. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Scott Wood.
To be here once again with all of you. I'm going to begin with a poem that I'm going to dedicate to Ohio State University. It's not a football poem. We would like to begin by acknowledging that the land on which we gather here today is the occupied and unceded territory of a people's chipped and dying morality. By acknowledging that we are in the ancestral nation of the doublespeak, of the original thought crime, of the bomb while you eat platter, the rolling valley of lesser evils where no sun shines between its agenda of hills, so we bulldoze and blast the sky until it gives up its ghost. We acknowledge this land of genocides, but only the old ones, the harmless histories that we have fracked into a new religion. The government-approved genocides that, by virtue of government approval, aren't genocides at all, or the very faraway ones that look like ours, but we are assured are not, and so we should sleep on that. A bomb for pillow. We acknowledge a colonialism that circles my block like an August ice cream truck whose song is an anthem you can kneel to. A chocolate gentrification, a bomb pop in name and outcome, an erasure delight. A land where anything is possible, and yet no one is brave or free enough to prove it. We note that this land is empire eating itself, starting with my street, my children, my history that I can't talk about for fear of being sued into an oblivion where my history must live. We acknowledge that the land on which we gather here today has been stolen a dozen times over and will be stolen a dozen times more. That we stand on a land that can offer too much truth at once, a crippling truth, a shrugging of a globe of truth from our spines, rolling it down our arms like a globetrotter trick. We would like to begin by acknowledging that calling out this land is not a goal. It is not supposed to be a balm or salve. It is not supposed to be the work. What in the land's name are you so happy about, so proud of? What about the naming of this land is so precious to you that you can acknowledge it over and over and it changes nothing? Where is the shame in all this dust you are raising? How dare you steal it again with your self-righteousness? We acknowledge that if the rock don't hit you, don't holler. But when you stand on a pile of rocks like that, your flag whip cracking in the wind, we may be gathered here today to stone you, taking back each pebble one at a time until we can just call the land by its name again. Thank you, very kind. I'll follow that up with a love poem. This one's entitled An Act of Black on Black Time. Let your coffee go cold staring in my face, wondering how much of me is my mother and how much is decisions. Ask me about my day, then interrogate me. Wonder how much I puffed up at the white gaze I shed that day, and how much I bemoaned when it passed me by for smaller mouths. Savor me. Treat me like a death row dinner, like this moment couldn't possibly exist again. Stare at me like more of me might reveal itself in 3D, to the side, when the psychedelic me kicks in. Do not disturb is not enough. Let us destroy our phones. Crush something hard under something soft for once. Tell me how much you love poetry, and I will tell you how much I adore spectacle. And then we can raise a police station to the ground with our performance poetry until we forget that no matter how many cops we've run into the street, if the spectacle outshines the poem, we have failed. You beg me to stop you from going on too long, and I refuse. I know you are used to office spaces that track your every frown and heavy sigh, a black demerit against the credit score of your race. I hope you take all of their staples and make silver cubicle curtains with them. Be a criminal with me now. Let us steal away slowly, our pockets full of time, minutes spilling out of our collars. Kiss me on the expiration date in the nape of my neck. We already been round longer than the label says. Thank you. This is a poem. This is also a love poem, but this one is kind of a heartache poem. It broke up. But the notable thing about it is that a coworker asked me, have you ever had your heart broken? And I'm like, you didn't know I was a poet, yes? And so we were headed into a meeting. And so I wrote this poem in that meeting. This has nothing to do with the meeting. The poem is entitled, "Any Poet Who Says No Is a Liar." "Have you ever had your heart broken?" she asked, knowing the answer, and not on it before the question mark hits the air. I have stitched my loves across every entrance, petals dropped from the budding embouchure of every kiss lining the doorways into me, like pinched salt spills. Whispers pool in bottle tree signals. I keep like a wine cellar in the sun, each a chamber to a still heart that remembers how I took every limb for my own once, every whistling regret and anthem to a country found in their leaving laughter, a refugee on every tongue. I scaled their sighs, climbing into their mouths with my broken animal ways, having the nerve to be angry when they spit me into the curling dust. A heartbroken poet is redundant. Follow the balled-up odes that only hit their mark after the leaving. When I remember the taste of jambalaya kisses on her neck, the soap smell on her thigh, the great morning after omelet debate of 2016, the lifting hug, the quickened hush thrust, the rasp of tongue that knows me better than anyone, ever, again. If we are not for the piercing between my ribs, I might mistake this for ecstasy. If it were not for the poetry, I might mistake her for religion, her memory a Holy Ghost, her lap a heaven of redacted love songs, her kiss a terrifying and final revelation. I did catch that mispronounced word. This one has a story too. I was commissioned to do a poem at a fundraiser for an organization whose mission was to address homelessness. And I said, of course, yes, absolutely. And then I started to catch details about the fundraiser. It's like, it's very expensive, a huge theater. Very lovely catered, just all the things, all the pretty things. And so when I kind of caught wind of that, I wrote this poem. And promptly never heard from them again. It's entitled A Symphony of Uncaring. All of the things we have planted to keep you away. Park benches with the rude middle arm of sit upright. Concrete daggers set in stone where you might seek out help. If we keep you standing, you may move on to more restful pastures. A symphony plays outside a hotel to keep you from under its arches, as if there is no way you could possibly love Mozart too. No way the strings hum sweetly in your ears. Every poem about you talks like the seasons are wallpaper, the pillow of autumn leaves, the blanket of winter. I only ever want to see you in a room like this, sitting at a table set for you while you can smell the centerpieces for yourself. Is it ghosting if you can see them? If you avert your eyes in the face of the cupped hand? Is it ghosting if you ignore the asking? If you suddenly go blind at the sight of a sign? Who then haunts who? At the bridge between where you're headed and where they've been. Projection is a powerful drug, and everyone on this sidewalk is on it. The song goes, a house is not a home, and I guess technically that's true. If they loved Mozart, they wouldn't play that. You don't use something you love as an engine for inhumanity. I hope they played your jam by accident. All of the things we say to keep from helping you, we know how to spend it. Like everything we buy is so precious and firmly. Anything you spit it on, I have bought 100 times over. Is it ghosting if you can hear them? The story they must tell for your largesse. The tale that makes the giving tree loosen its fruit. Is it ghosting if you look like me, and I turn away because, but for the grace of God, go I? Is it giving if I feel absolved, if I cry? Is it giving if I mean it? Is it giving if you thank me? Is it giving if I make conditions, if I wash my hand quick? Is it giving if someone sees me do it? Can I learn to give? Can you teach me to give? Can I give and not keep score? Can you teach me care? Can I give when I'm off the clock? Can you teach me shelter? Can I give and ask you to come back tomorrow as you are, ready for more truth between us? Can I give and look forward to it? Can I give of myself? Can I give the symphony of your existence? Which is to say, can I see the symphony of our existence? How your cello sits by my violin. How we both laugh at the piccolo player. How the conductor of all this is love. Can I ask what you want for once? Can you teach me the right notes to this gospel-y sing of giving? I'll close out with one more, just to keep everything on time. And this will be a short one. It's not autumn yet, I'm just telling you that now. Officially, it is not autumn yet. I know the calendar says that it is coming, and it is. It may be short, but it will come. We're not in it now. This poem is about autumn, and seeing autumn in an odd place. It's entitled Autumn Infiltrates the Defense Supply Center. When I was growing up, it was DCSC, right? Now it's whatever it is. But is everyone familiar with that place? For those who are not, this is like a military base on Broad Street, basically. It's going to catch a bomb, is what I'm saying. Autumn infiltrates the defense supply center. Steel fencing on the other side, a shock of red bouquets, guards a still green torso, shielding autumn from its lush memory. A birch of perfect resilience. Fireworks stashed in its summertime jaws, standing post next to a beige warehouse in the morning sun. Like all battles, it is brilliant and hard to watch. A life not so much planted as commandeered, both belonging right where it is, and still more beauty than that place deserves.
Well, the next poet is a member of the House of Toast Poetry Group, of which I'm a member in a meeting that one Sunday morning a month for 30 years, critiquing one another's poetry, and we just think they're all wonderful. That's like that. Welcome the author of My G-Rated Life, Jacqueline Smith.
Thank you, Fred. Thought I'd actually start with a lighthearted poem from My G-Rated Life, which is a chapbook award that I won a number of years ago. My G-Rated Life. I break wishbones, pray to God for miracles. I wish upon every star in the universe to create something X-rated in my life. Hot beyond this G-rated film, in bed by 11 o'clock news, alone, or sometimes with my calico cat who takes pity on me and sleeps in my arms. It's culture's fault, this eternal desire to bump into charming Carrie or be thrown on an Arabian horse by Valentino. All of us draped in diamonds and rubies, dashing away from Cleveland towards some desert oasis, or maybe Brando roughing my flesh between his flesh and a wall in a Paris hotel. Love films, how these still constellate in young and old girls' heads, always whirling yet stuck in space, like Cassiopeia or Venus without arms. I too have a poem about autumn coming. A different kind of poem, but autumn. The trees are full of light. A single white cloud waves at me from the blue as leaves drift to the ground. Others surf on the wind, landing on the surface of a quiet, shallow stream. I can't see my reflection in the black water, but gaze into the delicious mosaic on the sandy bottom of the stream's red, yellow, and orange leaves. I skip stones across the water with the unbounded joy of a child. Rings rippling and overflowing on both shores. And like the trees releasing their leaves to autumn, I let go of my hold on everything that does or does not matter. Always in relationship. I would not know who I am if it were not for the early morning sunlight flashing over treetops and fields, or for dusty cracks in the earth just outside my back door, or my dog who leans into me, or clouds that come and go each day. I would not know who I am without the touch of a healing hand, or light glittering in rain that has fallen on me softly while I wander through the woods, or when night's silence enters my bones, or for the sounds of a lover's voice echoing within. I would not know who I am without angel wings that brush over me as I sleep, or for birds and flowers that sing, or wind that plays with my hair, or a cat meowing on a trash can, or the girl riding by on her bike, or the wide dark sky and heart-filled stars. It has taken me many years to remember who I am, to remember that I can never be separate and stand alone, that I am forever woven in the giving and receiving of life, always unfolding, forever flowing. I tend to write a lot of poems about trees. Trees are, I have many friends who are trees. So I thought I would bring a couple of those and share these. Stillness. What the trees are teaching me on this windless day is how to be still as space between each breath, and how to drop into silence. These ancestors know how to be this silence from deep within their cores. There's a river wandering not far from where I sit, flowing over jagged rocks, which distracts me for a moment. I breathe, slip back into my core root of ancient stillness, a serene space which these trees have known from the beginning, even when their leaves twist and turn in stormy summer winds. A wise tree. A wise tree whom I visit deep in the forest does not have eyes, but sees more than humans. It whispers in summer's hot twilight. I sit beneath its sleepy leaves as it sings through shadows and mist, sharing tales from long ago before humans were. It speaks a language we no longer hear, one of wild rains, blue winds, ancient moonlight, and fiery stars. Oh, ancestor. The tree echoes the language of elders who speak through roots and leaves, sap and bark, who have disappeared, forgotten. Trees who never spoke, yet speak with holy breath and wails of long ago. I hear their whispers resounding through unseen veils of this world. I think I have enough poems about a tree to put a chapbook together. This poem actually came from a dream I had, and this was probably one of the most fun dreams I've ever had. My guardian angel came in a dream wearing crazy purple suede shoes. I'm dancing in tennis shoes across a white marble floor, dressed in denim jeans in a species extinct sweatshirt. I'm trying to catch the beat of myself, moving okay, but not exactly unified, a little too wild, off balance, when an angel mumbles up to me and says, "You're out of step, your back window is open, and it's raining in your face." I whirl around, lose my footing, and wonder, who's this heavenly Gene Kelly with bebop wings, golden robe, and crazy purple suede shoes? He touches my hand and sings, "Let me unscramble your feet, teach you how to move smooth. You gotta stay out of the way of your shadow. It always trips you up." My arms swing up toward heaven, the hallelujah in my hips unjam and open my front door. Old grumpy clouds wash away, blue sky floods my eyes. The angel claps his heavenly hands and shouts, "You're getting it." I see the light of creation, feel thunder trembling through my soul. This angel sings jazz like I've never heard before. Sweet scents of frankincense and myrrh abound as he twirls me around and guides my every step. My feet glide and sparkle, smooth as moonlight. Windows. When I close my eyes, the moon rises in the sky of my mind. Windows that have been shut for a long time crack open. When I am still and breathe in, breathe out, they open up. Freshness, light, and cool air play, flow in and out the windows. Harsh voices, twisted vines, and stale songs rise to the surface and dissolve. Stuffy passageways rumble, open with light and breath. My spirit, laughing, moves in and out windows, clear moments as I come and go. Night. Long after the light of day has passed, locust branches moan in the breeze. A robin song lingers, and the evening's voices hum with insects. This is a time for listening. day is past, and the deepening night arrives like quiet mist, full of its own language, lost long ago to humans. It is still speaking, empty of the day's sounds, awakening those who have slumbered. A white moth hovers in a milky strand of moonlight. I lie on the damp grass, silent as if I don't exist. Night opens, its eyes wide, and yawns, never noticing I am here. For the joy of it. Moments flow by, they cannot be held, each one giving its knowing. We may or may not be aware of what it has given, yet the moment in its clarity asks for nothing as it floats away on the breeze. What is ours? Nothing is ours, not even the moment. Our breath is full and empties out into some deep silence. Without knowing and knowing, we are light sailing in and out of moments, radiant beams winking through a vast blue sky, simply for the joy of it. Full moon. I spent some time in Florida, and no one was on the beach that evening. It was wonderful. It was just the full moon on the ocean, and it just was amazing, and this poem came to me. Full moon, sitting by the sea beneath an ancient moon, listening to the waves, all the waves that have ever emerged from the sea. Echoes of salt seeping into wet sand, cry of a gull cracks of the night. Moonlit tongues flashing silver among waves and over sand, breaking and mending. Water and sand giving way endlessly. Can I read one more? Deeper dive. Take off your shoes and remove your glasses. You don't need them where you're going. Take off your clothes and toss them out the window. Step back from the world and travel within. Step back again and again. Now take another step back until you find yourself spiraling into your core, behind the mind's incessant chatter, behind the body's aches and pains, behind the spirit's woes and wailing. Dive deeper until you let yourself fall into the arms of light, the flower of light that is truly you, freed from all you thought was you and everyone and everything.
Thank you, Jacqueline. Our next poet, Jerry Roscoe, he's had a number of books published over decades and decades and decades. He says he's not concerned about that anymore. He's like, he doesn't care. You don't care whether you get published again. I don't care whether I get published again. But he is succinct, he is clear, and brings us to the present moment. And can be very funny as well. So let's welcome Jerry Roscoe.
What is what I want, a poet Galway Canal wrote. At about the same time, late 20th century, Bill Clinton, a lawyer, was questioning the very meaning of is, right on the front of a blue dress from a cap. To be is to do, not. To do is to be. Start. Doobie, doobie, doobie. I found on the men's room wall of Larry's bar in Columbus. A poem should not mean but be, I learned as an English major. Finally, my expensive education was doing me some good. Let it be, as Paul McCartney. Used cars. Our father, a Buick man, must have had something of a midlife crisis. Maybe the entire country did, entering an exciting new decade, electing a photogenic young president, when he traded his 53 white Super for a 59 Invicta, fire engine bred, enormous sweeping fins front and back. When he picked us up at school as we begged him to, it was like stepping into the future. But that future never arrived. They found oil in the radiator. Oil in the radiator? That's what the garage man said. So after a few months, Dad traded for a 62 LeSabre. Boxy, the way cars have been ever since. Maroon, the way we were marooned by design. Another car poem. I don't know anything about cars. On receiving their gold watch. The greatest achievement of my life, I'm 73, was at age 2, sitting on the front stoop with my father, impressing the neighbors by correctly identifying each car that passed. Pontiac, Packard, Plymouth, Hudson with skirts, Studebaker with Venetian blinds, Oldsmobile, DeSoto. Today I can't name of one save my own Taurus, not yet extinct. A company car made to fight on inside the arena, chasing a constantly disappearing red cape, well beyond the time when, like Ferdinand in that story I love, I should have been put out to pasture and smell the flowers. Didn't anybody notice I'm colorblind? Book report. It looked like we weren't going anywhere from our isolated hometown, provided we survived a stint in Vietnam, the boys, finding work in a factory, or equally mind-numbing, an office. So you wonder why our reading list would include Murder in the Cathedral, a verse played by T.S. Eliot, concerning the death of Thomas Becket during the reign of Henry II. Nobody read plays, except me in graduate school biding my time, or verses, although I did, alone in a room, become a poet. So you figured they could have let us have a laugh, even justified it with Shakespeare's mixing high and low in his verse plays, when my brother's friend in class ended his oral report in the manner we were taught, with a recommendation. You can find Murder in the Cathedral by T.S. Eliot in the school library. I suggest you read it. And if you don't like it, T.S. Paperboy. Our son is precocious in a business sense, selling rocks to friends. Some parents return for a 50-cent refund. With pine needles and flower petals mixing perfume. Smell good, smell great in 2-liter 7-Up bottles kids can purchase in time for Mother's Day. So we acquire for him a paper route, but outsmart ourselves. He's 9. We can't have him out in even our safe suburban neighborhood pre-dawn alone. So I work with him for the first month, and then by myself another 5. Catching through snow, slipping on ice to deliver the dispatch. Sunday editions weighed down with full-color comics, department store ads, and my reviews of recent poetry, $35 for 400 words, which added to weekly proceeds gave us enough $3,500 for, as in scripture we profess to follow, Eve handed Adam a shiny new apple to chase us off the printed page into cyberspace. Wisdom. It is what it is, our Ameriprise advisor decides. Looking over the finances and seeing after 15 years of regular monthly payments, we owe more on our mortgage than we did at the start. This must be what passes for wisdom among the town's professionals, for it is what it is, my GP declares, upon glancing at the chart and noting I turned 60. How much better to be, she seems to be implying, since there's just the 2 of us here in the examining room. Half that age, blonde rather than gray, index finger in a disposable glove, about to probe an orifice of this increasingly decrepit human specimen. The effort. The problem with writing poetry is what to do with the remaining 23 and a half hours. I forget who. An American, I presume. That's the trouble with writing. By the time you have something to say, I forget now what it was. That's okay. Nobody cares about poetry anymore like they once did, I think. Why didn't I become a painter? There's so much time to spend stretching canvas, mixing colors, cleaning up. You don't wonder, was it worth it? Which is all anybody's thinking with poetry. The effort. Oscar Wilde said, I worked all day on my poem. In the morning I put a comma in, and in the afternoon I took it out. Nigel. Despite Hurricane Ian and current flooding in the Sunshine State, airports are open, so my daughter's family is leaving for Disney World, the vacation spot they love. I've never been, though I enjoy the thought of them having the time of their lives. I don't like the idea of waiting in line as I did yesterday at the doctor's to get not so good news. Instead of a theme park, I say I prefer the real thing, Williamsburg, or Roscoe Village, no relation, a canal town here in Ohio where we perpetuate the myth of America. Not even that, it's the words of the myth we try and can't seem to live up to that serve as a rebuke. My only task while they're gone is to feed my granddaughter's betta fish, Nigel, just a pinch, and watch him glide to the surface to take it beautifully alone in his colorful tank, the way he likes it, the way it has to be. John's Secret Garden. It's settled then. We'll read our poems 5 minutes each in John's Secret Garden. Access through a gate in the sunnier public garden where shade and plants dominate. John's like Monet, Marilyn claims. Gardening brings together his passions for poetry and engineering. It'll be like the workshops held at Bob's house 30 years ago, each of us expecting more. Before work and family, all that immediate stuff intervened. Bereft of that and gratefully able to find ourselves a little the worse for wear back in the Heights. Some of us never left. Still thinking at the window of our lives, still writing, though this time without illusion. Poetry is illusion enough.
We're going to take a 10-minute break now and then back with the amazing Karen Scott.
Folks, we're going to get started, so come sit down, or you can stand up and listen. There's no room, but you can stand up and listen. Anyway, I don't see Zach here, but I do want to acknowledge our appreciation to Bexley Library for giving us the room. If you see him, tell him. I can't find him. He was just here a minute ago. Well, so far, it's been so, the heck with you, we're enjoying it. This is for Fred and me. Zach, oh good. Zach, we want to acknowledge our appreciation to you and Bexley Library for such a good cooperation and welcome. Thank you so much. And now, some of you may know Karen Scott. She is a best friend of poets, plus a beautiful poet in her own right. Karen.
Well, like my ADHD brain, I'm all over the place, and these poems will be too, because I couldn't really find an arc. And thank you again to Mem and to Fred for inviting me. I really do enjoy reading these marathons. The first one is called Things I Wish I Could Still Do, a list poem. Run the 50-yard dash like I did in high school. Play volleyball and set up a spike past the opposing team. Walk 3 miles in an hour's time over the hills of southwestern Ohio. Spend every summer day with a horse and ride bareback. Skinny dip in the camp pool after lights out. Gorge myself on Laura's lasagna and fall asleep on the carpet watching MTV with our friends and family. Sit nestled in my husband's arms. See the smiles he reserved just for me. Hear his whisper in my ear and his voice rumbling in his chest under my head. Spend time with my father as he worked on the car and showed me maintenance. Hear his laugh, see his smile. Ask my mother for advice. This one is called Generational Wealth, ? Sorting through my parents' papers now that my mother has joined my father and her other ancestors, I find a bank passbook from early in their marriage reflecting weekly $5 deposits. I remember her telling me of their first washer and how my father would have to sit on it to keep it from dancing across the floor. We forget that our parents did not start out in the middle class we were raised in. I expected to do as well, if not better than my parents. Their achievements, my jumping off spot. I wasn't very old before I realized how unlikely that would be. People of color are rarely able to leave a financial inheritance for their children, the fortunate able to avoid leaving heirs with debts to settle. My parents' generation may have been the last with hope of leaving an inheritance at all. Young adults of the 50s, career military with GI Bill money, and college-educated spouses working by their side were able to fashion a solidly middle-class life and future for their kids before inflated prices, inflated cost of living, corporate and political greed made the American dream an unattainable mirage. My mother thought she had provided well for her grandchildren. After the stock market stole a large portion of an annuity, the generational curse of dementia ate through the rest, devouring her home, her pension, her possessions, leaving a pittance of her planned wealth behind. Here I am, stuck in the middle, too rich to claim benefits, too poor to pay all my bills, usually with more money left than money. My generational wealth may not be evident, but I am a rich woman, having inherited an entrepreneurial spirit from my father's father, resilience and strong faith from my other grandfather, an optimistic outlook and tenacious attitude, an empath's heart and an analytical mind, an inheritance I hope my daughter will treasure. I also get a lot of my ideas and things from the things I read, and you all know I'm all about the books. This is called Upon Reading Mine for Yours. It will get easier, Rhodes said to Riley as they talked at Trevor's grave, but it will never be easy, I mused. A couple of weeks after my Thomas died, Stephen Curtis Chapman's I Will Be Here was a fist to the gut. After 24 years passed, grief is a heavy hand on my shoulder, unwelcome and uncomfortable. I cannot imagine the day when I will not feel the loss and cherish only memories. When the call came that Mom was gone, it was a mere blip. For years before, I had already grieved the loss of the mother she was. Perhaps this is the sum of life, a series of griefs varied in their intensity. This one is called Wants and Needs. She clasped his offered elbow and they stepped gingerly up the curb. He opens the door and ushers her into Rusty's wharf. They sit at their table, not across from each other, but side by side. He says something low, eliciting her smile. They lean their heads together while they wait for the server and their food. I want to be that couple. I wanted us to grow old together. For over 15 years, you held my hand and guided me into womanhood, into marriage, into motherhood. None of us are the same people in our 70s that we were in our 20s and 30s. If things had been different, who knows if we would even be still together? Who would you be now? Who would I be? If you were here all these years, what would our life have been? I wanted you here with me as we watched our daughter grow, make school choices and educational decisions for her, celebrate her high school graduation and go off to college. I wanted you here to deal with her first heartbreak, to watch her fall in love, her adult successes, accomplishments, jobs, her first home. I was looking forward to just us again, passionate moments whenever the mood struck, you fishing while I make crafts of natural material, pick blackberries in season, cooking together and entertaining friends, me watching you watching boxing, evenings spent reading together in companionable silence, a future erased many years too soon. The thing is, I don't just want someone to grow old with, I wanted to grow old with you. What I want the most, I cannot have. And since we're at the end of summer and the beginning of fall, let me get in a real quick summary one. Stargazing. I've been leaving the porch light off deep into the night to give fireflies respite from light pollution. Their mating dance showcased above the lawn and abundant foliage swallowing my yard. A reward for playing matchmaker to the stars of summer twilight, I was treated to a display as I returned home after darkfall. The saplings and grapevines surrounding my little cottage in the suburban woods aglow with a myriad of twinkling lights, a constellation of stars, and a light green mist hovering over my roof. love October morn. I like to go up to Lake Erie, and I don't always get up there, and I don't always get up there in the middle of summer. So this is about a trip that Alex and I took up there. October morn. On a gray, misty October morning, I'm on the shore at Headlands Park Beach Park. Run after it. On a gray, misty October morning, I am on the shore of Headlands Beach State Park in the classic beachcomber stoop. I did not make it to the shore this summer, and I'm in desperate need of wave therapy. I stand with my back to the wind like a pony on the coast of a Scottish isle, speculating whether the precipitation whizzing past my head is rain or sleet. I let the sound of the waves work their magic. Tension and stress melt and slough off my shoulders, while I stoop and look for beach glass, heart-shaped stones, and other treasures shaped by the sand and waves. My thoughts are free to gamble about, unfettered like Labrador retrievers at play. Alex and I have the beach pretty much to ourselves. When I think I can't stand the cold and the wind much longer, I turn to see where she is. I see her dancing on the shore, moving forward and retreating in harmony with the waves. I'm not a very good photographer, often late on action shots. Most of my photos just don't capture the moment the way my mind's eye does. If they could invent a machine that would allow the images in your head to be transmitted and printed as tangible photographs or videos, I could share my favorite scenes with others. The red fox in the middle of a camp road on a foggy summer morning that looked over his shoulder at me before disappearing in the underbrush. Click. The American kestrel hovering by the roadside before it folded its wings and dove to capture its prey. Recording. The video of my blind date, who later became my husband, as he arose from my parents' couch when I entered the room, shot panning from knees to broad shoulders to piercing eyes and broad smile. Recording. The sight of my daughter dancing a tango with the waves on the shore of Lake Erie. Click. I asked for requests, and Susan asked for this one that I wrote. It's an acrostic poem that was part of the call and response session that we had, OTA had with the Pennington Gallery over in Indianola, and there were 41 poets that read that day. The poem the picture that I wrote is a Georgia Tangi one, the picture is, and the poem is called Tale as Old as Time. I told you he was no good, Grandma whispered in my ear in the shadow of the courtyard as we watched him strut around across the street by the bodega. Isn't he supposed to be looking for a job? Her glare a question as he high-fived the others and purred in the ears of pretty young girls entering the store, making them blush. 3 children with 3 different women, she spat, as he captured a passing woman in a playful embrace around her waist. Doesn't support a 1. He's drinking, she screeched as he exited the store sipping something from a brown paper bag. What kind of future can he give you? Her eyes rolling as she gave a half-hearted wave, then flashed a secret smile our way. I hope you're not sleeping with him. She squinted as if seeing my silent, stricken face for the first time. A tear making its way down my cheek, I turned toward her and sighed, but I love him. Okay, I'll do this one, Embracing Cronehood. You know the 3 phases of Celtic womanhood, right? Maiden, mother, crone, the cyclic nature of life and the moon's phases. I have been a maiden, young and beginning my woman journey. I've been a mother, nurturing, protective, growing, I am now a crone, wise, experienced, in a time of reflection and release. In my visualization of life as a crone, I realize I'm well on my way. I want to live in a little cottage in the woods, but not leave Columbus. A few years ago, my neighbor peered over the backyard fence and remarked, "I like this forest thing you've got going." I wonder if he has since regretted that, as I let the bushes and saplings grow unkempt and the grapevines strive to cover the house and wires in the front too. I would like to feed crows, establish a relationship with a murder, and have them bring me shiny bits and baubles as tribute, but I fear that would encourage skunks and trash pandas to frequent my yard more than my COVID kin. I would want to forage for plants and herbs, dry them in bundles hung in the kitchen. I want to be as holistic as I can, eschewing big pharma and the unhealthcare system. I am learning to listen to my body and plan my day accordingly. Aside from friends who occasionally stop by, I could care less that the door knocker is rarely used. I take my time getting to the door, and once there, I may not open it, especially after dark. I am becoming more feral each day and loving it, often dashing out the door barefoot, continuing to dress on my way to my destination. Sitting in my car after I've been out is my modern version of sitting on the stoop with a shawl over my shoulders. If you see me, don't be afraid to stop by. Maybe I'll give you a poppet or potion in return. Thank you.
Paula Lambert, thank you for being so flexible. Always have to be flexible. Paula Lambert, everybody.
I'm flexible because I swapped with Rikki today, not so much otherwise. Say the bird you saw was a great blue heron, a soft gray blur on a smooth gray sky. Say he guided you back to the highway and pointed now toward home. You found yourself surrounded by semis. Say the trucks were a pod of whales, that you felt yourself safe, that the sky and the road began to blend, a thick, steamy gray. Say you were one of the whales, that the bird you could no longer see was still there, somewhere, a guide. When the lightning started, miles ahead and low on the horizon, illuminating a stripe of billowing clouds, say it didn't concern you. Say you kept driving and driving. Say the whales disappeared, that you forgot the heron with the lightning now all around you. Say that everything was light, the sky, the car, you. Say the light was blinding, neon white, that you gripped the wheel, that you felt frightened and alone. Say you felt maybe that this was God. Say you felt maybe one with God, one with the blinding neon light. Say that suddenly the light was gone. Say that suddenly there was a wall of rain. You were not the rain. You were somehow inside the rain. Say nothing existed but the rain and you. Say this was the lesson, that this is what you learned, that all along this is why you needed the heron. This is why you needed the whales. Say this is what you've always been, the soft blur in a smooth sky, the beautiful behemoth heaving its way through a perfect sea, the bolt, the wicked light, the space inside the solid wall of rain. That's a newish poem I wrote on the way back from, I think, Youngstown. And literally wrote it on my head because I was gripping the wheels like this when I got home. I wrote it all down. I'm going to read now from Sinkhole. This is a chapbook that came out earlier this summer. My preoccupation with writing lately has been, well, of course, eco-poetry and climate crisis, which has definitely become climate catastrophe, all linked to political catastrophe. And yet within dealing with all of this, you know, dark cloud over all our heads, we have to deal with the sort of everyday catastrophes that are going on all the time. The first poem here is called Vanitas. Vanitas. I sit by the open window listening to frogs and crickets, rotting pears plummeting through branches and thudding the ground. Yesterday, the body of a starling on the back step. The dark world offers itself, cries out. Come daylight, we mow the pears. We pretend not to see, not to hear. The next beast. The next beast. We have a granddaughter that just turned 6 this summer. All eyes here on the new hurricane. Across the globe, earthquake. Yes, it's whack-a-mole. We the moles, hiding in a box of We the moles, hiding in a box of whirring gears and thumping levers. Catastrophe, the man above us, drunk and swinging a club. Whomp, fire. Whomp, flood. Whomp, a new strain of disease. Still, this. My granddaughter's first day of school, arms wide, smiling, welcoming all the new day will bring. Wearing light-up sneakers, a brand-new unicorn backpack. She sticks out her tongue, playfully, for the pictures, and later we play puppet show. Every beast she brings to the stage says, "Hello, I love you." Then she stops, leans in, whispers, "Grandma, you're my best friend." Then the next beast growls, "I'm gonna poop on your head." And we laugh and laugh. This collection, Sinkhole, originated when I started writing these poems when I'm from Massachusetts, north central Massachusetts, and back home, this is in Leominster, Mass. I grew up in a little town called Shirley. But in Leominster, where my sister lives, my aunt lives, my cousins live, a storm passed through, sort of. I mean, this is happening everywhere, right? The storm, which would normally pass through, stopped. And it just hung over the city of Leominster, and it rained and rained and rained and rained for days and days and days, all kinds of flooding where they'd never seen this kind of catastrophe before, and it opened up sinkholes all over the city. It was on the national news, but I mean, we're seeing it everywhere all the time. But of course, sinkhole, the metaphor of it, is what I ended up playing with. This poem is really short, so I'm going to read it twice. It's called Covenant. Cracked clay soil, soon deluge. The road, the empty bowl, sinkhole. Cracked clay soil, soon deluge. The road, the empty bowl, sinkhole. And then this is the actual title poem, Sinkhole. And the earth washed away beneath the road, beneath the railroad tracks. The asphalt then collapsed into the hole, and the iron rails, spikes, and cars fell into the holes, and houses sometimes, and people's dreams, and people's refusal to acknowledge that what they thought wouldn't be, couldn't be so, was, is, and will be worse and worse and worse. Sky so far from the bottom of the hole, and suddenly so close, there being no further, no deeper for us to fall. trillium. This is another short one, I'm only gonna read it once. Snow trillium. She leans in close and squints. Do I know you? My heart begins to break, but she smiles impishly. I take her hands in mine and we laugh. One day, we both know I'll have to tell her my name. Sound. From the open window, I can hear tires screeching. The kind where the car is turning too sharply, too fast, like in the movies. Where, I wonder, is there a road close enough for that to be happening? Other nights I hear the train 2 miles away, or cattle mooing, or the same cattle slaughtered. Today, our daughter tells me the new meds are making her hear soft rustling sometimes, doors slamming, babies crying, no voices, just vague auditory hallucinations. And a friend tells me about a terrible case of tinnitus, a long, slow bell ringing since contracting COVID. We compare notes. For me, it's nightmares, something evil trying to break through the door. I heave my weight against it, slam it closed, wake covered in sweat, listening carefully for what's real. I wonder if all sound might be echoes of want, of fear, of need. If sound itself might be energy, spirit, ghost, memory. If all soft rustling, every bell, every beast blowing might only be asking for us to acknowledge our collective terrible suffering, to hear, to see, to touch, to feel, or is it too much to say, to love? And another granddaughter poem. She keeps us going. My husband gets annoyed with me because every time she comes over, when he greets her at the door, the first thing she says is, "Where's Grandma?" I did play with her. Pretending. In the dry cocoon bathtub, granddaughter in my lap, we crack an invisible whip, cry out, "On Dasher, on Dancer." We are in control of Santa's sleigh, soaring the night skies, nothing but stockings and cookies ahead. I'm ignoring the drone footage I saw earlier, flood damage, the goddamn sinkholes. When she tires of the sleigh, we move to the glass-walled shower, splash our hands on the still wet floor, pat the soap, press our palms to the glass. No cries here. Only giggles, her tiny handprints next to mine. We are Paleolithic cave dwellers, leaving our mark, pretending some part of this will last. This is the last poem in the chapbook, and I have one more poem to read, but it's called "The Only Thing Missing," and it's another short poem. The only thing missing. All is lost. My children, all is love. The only thing missing is peace in our hearts. Let go of what you thought the world was. Reach out to what the world is. It's such a pleasure and such an honor to be invited to do this reading. So thank you to Mimi and to Fred, two people I admire greatly, and to read with poets who are just, everything, who have inspired me and encouraged me and supported me and inspired me. It's a true honor to read here. So thank you, Mimi. Later this week, I'm heading up to Kent and to Cleveland to take part in an anthology release up there. It's called The Nature of Our Times, and I'm just thrilled to be part of this project. It's a partnership with, one of the partners is Kent State, who's done so much with science and poetry. They received funding for this huge project, I'm just gonna say, from a previous administration, and when the current administration came in, that funding disappeared. They lost all the money they had been promised for. But they rallied, because, you know, poets we tend to be, you know, accused of always having our head in the clouds, but man, there's a whole lot of poets who work really, really hard. And they found the funding to release this anyway, so I'm really proud to be part of that. So this is just my poem that's in that anthology. And I'll go ahead and say, this is also going to be in my forthcoming collection. I have a new book coming from Charlene called Terms of Venery Revised. So it's been a big year. I don't know how to get through crisis except to write my way through it. And boy, golly, golly. Personally, politically, environmentally, it's been nothing but crisis, and I just keep my head down and keep going. This is On the Weight of the Soul, the weight of a cloud, the weight of a whale. A man once said he had proof of the soul, that it weighed 21 grams, less than a single ounce. And though it wasn't true, we liked the idea that the soul exists in quantifiable form. When a child then asked the weight of a cloud, the innocent expected a similar answer, that the ethereal nature of what cloud is would be both calculable and negligible. And we'd have been wrong. A single cumulus cloud weighs as much as 2 blue whales, a storm cloud even more, as much as a pod of whales plodding across the sky. As to the weight of full cloud cover, any poet can tell you we're back to the weight of the suffering soul. The only thing keeping us aloft is the air between the burdens of water, which is to say, tiny particles of something like breath, which is to say, heat breathing. Poets have learned to endure, to sing from the depths while listening for sounds that mean the pod has heard, that we're not alone, that the weight we bear is less than it seems, our stories weaving a web that holds the sky and the sea together, the frauds and the faithful believers. And if we close our eyes, we'll realize we know the soul is real, that clouds release the weight of their suffering every day, bathing us in the beauty of rain that weighs exactly as much as our tears, exactly as much as the questions sailing across the sky, the land, and the sea, exactly as much as the answers. Hi, everybody. Thanks for the others. Okay, I'll try to read fast. There is an overarching theme here of grief, but I think there's uplift in these poems too. Karen made me cry. Such majesty and fidelity of grief. It's so heartrending. Anyway, this poem, most of you know my husband passed recently and he had dementia, so that's going to turn up in some of the poems. The first poem is a narrative explaining how the second poem came about. Okay, so this is sort of a meta poem, and it's called Gratitude. And don't be worried about the number of pages, these are 16 point. Gratitude. If we had not been caring for Sonia's Kali Malibu Sanaa, and if Sanaa had not tucked us in, stayed with us in bed a while, then gone downstairs to wait for Sonia, who therefore didn't need to come upstairs to wake us up, and if I hadn't left the bright hall light on, plus a living room lamp, so Sonia could find her way to her dog when she returned,
And if she hadn't subsequently driven off with her, then noticed that she didn't have her phone, so came back in the dark, cold night for it, noticing only then she hadn't double-locked the door, so did, but left the lamp and hall light on. And if the glow had not awakened me at 5 a.m., compelling me to go downstairs to turn them off, I'd not have found my husband naked in the hall. Depends, wet shirt strewn around, wet pajama bottoms neatly hung, bless his addled mind, on the back of a wooden chair. And if I hadn't taken him upstairs to get him into fresh, clean underwear and clothes, warm daytime clothes, for it was almost winter morning, and if he hadn't drifted back to sleep, one page of a James Herriot dog story in, but I, too startled by his caper, lay awake in bed, thoughts drifting to a painting I had seen some years before at the Whitney. And if I hadn't gotten out of bed, resigned to being awake, gone back downstairs, made tea, the poem recounting the encounter with the painting would not have had the chance to tumble out. Nor would I need to feel relieved my husband hadn't frozen in the snow, because the second lock that needs a hidden key eventually got locked because of a forgotten phone. Nor grateful that I went downstairs, so found him, all because the lights were on. Nor glad he slept again, but ready now for day. The morning chores, undressing, washing, dressing, done. Nor would I be so full of gratitude for the solitude, that wedded grace to space, so I could write, or maybe just receive a poem that seems important to me, true, and now is calling me to be with it, as in love. It's fun to trace backwards. It's so absurd. But anyway, this is the poem, Encounter. And I just want to gloss, Adam Agoyan is a Canadian filmmaker who made a film called Ararat, which is about the Armenian genocide. And Arshil Gorky is one of the characters in the film. And that's how I became acquainted. I taught the film, and that's how I knew the painting. Encounter. I almost sank to the floor in a swoon when I came upon Arshil Gorky's The Artist and His Mother at the Whitney. I was wandering through rooms, unaware it was there, when suddenly that intimate appeared, like a dream playing out beyond bed and body, or like a departed friend leaning on a wall, whispering, yo. I had taught Agoyan's Ararat in film and lit. One scene imagines Gorky struggling to complete his painting of a peaceful moment prior to his mother's murder on a long march during the Armenian genocide, prelude to Hitler and Hitler's goad. The film even posits a theory about why Gorky's mother's hands and one of his own remain white blobs. I paired Ararat with Vonnegut's Bluebeard, a novel about painting and the Armenian genocide too, for I preferred sometimes to trace with students themes, threads, weaving and winding around kindred themes over studying books and their adaptations. I even read Spender's From a High Place, biography of the confabulator Gorky, who hid his Armenian identity like a wound with its own musical score, something as a Jew I understand. So I stood astonished before young Gorky, holding his small bouquet and standing next to his seated mother with her unfinished or finished but smeared, because the broken-hearted painter tried to reach through art back into life to hold them, her hands. And it was Billy Collins who said, when you're a poet, you have to figure out what to do with the other 23 hours in a day. For the last 3 years, I would not have been writing anything if I were a fiction writer.
He was quoting somebody else.
Yeah, I think it was Billy Collins, no?
No, he was quoting somebody.
Oh, he was. Oh, we gotta find out who. Okay, Pat and I walked twice a day up until the last month of his life. And so I have a lot of taking walks poems. This is one of them, Transport. I want to gloss one word, Shekinah, or Shekinah, which is Hebrew for dwelling, and it means the presence of God in a place. Transport. It feels good to be outside, breathing the middling, fresh, cold air, walking up and down the gravel alleyway with one who understands little these days. We hope, though who knows why, to see a passing train. Last night at the Soul's midnight, I heard 3 loud raps on the front door, auditory hallucination or the Shekinah. I had, for hours of remaining darkness, no escape from the beautiful, terrifying world. Here, now, a train is lumbering past us, heading south, each capacious car laden with coal, and inside every lump, a bit of ancient flora, fauna, dinosaur, long muffled memories, synonymous with dear Earth's history, bound for flames. Almost a stranger, after over 50 years, my husband's strata of intimacy buried deep, he points to another train, 1 track over, visible through the space between each close connected car, and hauling similarly burgeoning bins of yore, but hurtling north. I just have 2 more poems, but one of these is neither as short, but this one. I wrote this one because every week Rattle does Poets Respond and they publish a poem or 2. They reject every single time. I don't even know why I do it, but I was thinking a lot about my mother's father, and I was also thinking about every day. You have to send proof of news item. You don't need it with the treatment of immigrants that's going on. Every day is like hair-raising. Mexico. My grandfather Chaim, on my mother's side, I'm named for him, liked to read the Jewish Daily Forward in Yiddish in Winnipeg on the homestead farm. Yet at times, when the cosmos conspired, his radio received a station all the way from Mexico, blowing through old tubes by culturally ecumenical winds. He loved Mexican music. I love him for that, though we never met, except in the intimate pockets of my jeans. My forebears on my father's side found happy sanctuary in Muslim Spain, welcomed, protected, speaking their Ladino, Judeo-Spanish, what ethnic people do, evolve the language to meet their needs, after which their dialects get stirred back into the now more expressive language stew. This history must be why I couldn't hack French, but aced Spanish in junior high and high school,
then swam in it for years until I sounded almost native. I still love to read poems with English and Spanish on facing pages, aloud, Spanish first, eyes sliding sideways only when forgetting. This takes us to Mexico, where I've never been. To Mexico and its people, beautiful, because all people are beautiful, built to divine specs. To Mexico, whose beautiful people sometimes sojourn here. Feed us in uniquely tasty ways, labor to support beloveds, contribute to our welfare muchísimo, make great music and poems, heal, study, teach, all to the benefit of all, but find themselves disrespected, arrested, jailed, deported, a result of hate-mongering from on high, generating a heat that has shriveled many a heart. Agua frio, por favor. I need to travel to Mexico, fluent in Spanish no more, but willing for my tongue to stumble for the sake of it. To Mexico, to be serenaded by the sounds of my Sephardic forebears, found peace in and spoke, then tweaked for parlance, prayer, and song. To Mexico, to dance to music, seated by the sounds my Winnipeg grandfather heard almost 2 century terms ago. Once, that is, I get my right hip and right knee aligned so I can dance. And this last poem deals with Gaza grief. There's also hostage grief, but Gaza grief is beyond beyond. Chicken Road. Oh, and by the way, I'm indebted to Paula for this poem because she posted on Facebook that she had written a poem called Why Did the Chicken Cross the Road? And as soon as I read that old conundrum, this poem took seed, even though it has nothing whatever to do with her poem. It just shows you something. Oh, what it shows you is that all poetry is collaboration, right? Chicken Road, an Israel-Palestine fable. And by the way, I'm the Jewish chicken in the poem, so don't take offense, anybody. Why did the Jewish chicken cross the road? Because her heart flew from her body and landed there. She had to reunite with it or die a sort of death. She left the other chickens in the yard, the cozy yard, with gabble, grain, warm sun, with feathered hens of many hues, laying pale blue, mauve, and ecru eggs, with roosters, crimson wattled, glib, puffing out chests. Across the road, her heart rejoined her chicken body and resettled in her chicken chest, a body coded with genetic memories of coops, barbed wire, hunger, death. Though she was triggered now by chickens across the sea, dishing these out. Other chickens also slip the confines of the yard, where safety is illusion, if not shared. To cross the road and stand on the suffering side. Not all the chickens, though that would have been a glory and in keeping with tradition. Most stayed in the yard, refusing to roost in a tree, afraid of what they might see from up there. At times, God blows the gate ajar, breathes, breaks the latch with a mighty wind, hearts burning to flee, flee, their bodies chasing them down.
extremely honored to be among poets. And it's so great to be among poets again, because I haven't had that opportunity for a while, so it's great to be here. As many of you know, I've been working for a very long time on a series of poems about the bombing of a school in Bath, Michigan back in 1927. And what initially brought me to this collection is the fact that my grandmother's sister was a teacher in the school, and she was killed along with most of her students and many other children and a few other adults. So lots of different stories connected to that incident that I've been working on. This is one. After the bombing, they pretty much determined the person who filled the basement with dynamite and set the timers was Andrew Kehoe, but they were trying to find out if he had any co-conspirators. And one of the people questioned in the inquest was a man named Alan McMullen. So I really was intrigued by his language in the inquest, so I pulled phrases from the inquest to put it in the poem. Alan McMullen recalls Andrew Kehoe's gift. I didn't see Mr. Kehoe's body after the explosion. Guess there wasn't much left to see. My curiosity didn't run that far. We neighbored back and forth 4 or 5 times, something like that. I knew enough to keep a civil distance. He was installing a lighting system for Mr. Witt. I used to go up and look on. Sometimes he'd give me a ride down home. One evening he says to me, "Have you any use for a horse?" I said I expect I could use one once in a while. "There's 2 horses tearing my barn down. Come on over and get one," he says. About a couple days after that, he brought this horse over, pulled a paper out of his pocket. It said, "Received $120 in full payment for 1 bay mare, 10 years old, blind in left eye, named Kit." He says, "You stick to that." I didn't pay him a cent. Made up my mind I was probably going to get in trouble in some way or form, so I took the horse back. He poured me some cider in his kitchen. Says, "Al, you made a mistake by not keeping that horse over there." Why he should give me that horse? He didn't owe me nothing. Wondered maybe he was thinking to off himself. I seen a picture postcard a time later. Showed them 2 charred horses, toppled like uprooted trees in the barn he burned. Heard he bound their legs with baling wire so they couldn't run off. Reckon I should have kept the horse. In Bath, there's a little museum to the bombing and to the school system in general. You know, lots of class photos and different things. But a lot of the museum is dedicated to the bombing and artifacts from that and the history to remember the many, many people that were killed. And as unimaginable as something like that happening to an adult, you can't imagine what it would be for a child, how they would perceive what was happening. So this is a poem about one of the artifacts in the museum. It's called The Kindergartner's Chair, donated to the Bath School Museum by Dean Sweet Sr. When the monster roared beneath his feet and tossed his class like grain and chaff, amidst the barrage of planks and shards and plaster dust, our young lad, with heroic flair worthy of a big-top ring, hoisted the chair that just threw him down to confront and tame the invisible beast. But hearing his schoolmate's screams, decided it wiser to run. So with little hands clamped to the hard wooden seat he'd learned to stay glued to, not wiggle in or tip, he made his escape, clutching his chair as he raced all the way home to his mother's startled embrace, saving this remarkable piece, now sitting on a pedestal for study, admirably humble and still.
My mother was the oldest of 6 children, and she was 2 years old at the time of the bombing. But she was, her family was actually living with the grandparents. So she would have been in the house when they had the funeral for my great aunt there. And of course, surrounded by the tragedy. So this is a poem. It's a story that my mother told me about her mother, and I'm using my mother's voice to speak this poem. It's called Winter Sowing, and it's S-O-W-I-N-G, not the needle and thread type. Winter Sowing. Mother scattered grass seed on snow, trusted spring to yield a yard for her children. Her often rounding belly under a worn coat and ever-present apron, she released hope to wind and gravity with chapped hands. Softer drifts allowed seeds to burrow where birds could not pluck their potential. But even upon hard, icy crusts, Mother launched seed like wedding rice as cardinals and juncos watched. This ritual began after her closest sister, a teacher, was murdered. Mother needed to believe she had power over life, so escaped into the cold slap of air that numbed something unbearable within her. First time I met Mim, she was in a classroom surrounded by very enthusiastic preschoolers, and love just exuded from Mim, and love came right back from all those kids who were having a great time in a creative movement class. I don't look anything like it now, but many years ago, I was a dancer too, and so I brought a couple of poems that I've written from my time as a dancer. This one is called La Sylphie, which is the name of a romantic era ballet. I think lots of ladies and very long tutus, fill the stage. And sylphs are air spirits, very romantic notion. And it's for a fellow dancer with an eating disorder. La Sylphie. We were apprentice sylphs, those transparent spirits of air. Watching mirrors close us, we sculpted arabesques and pirouettes, bearing commands to waltz faster, pose longer, be thinner. You buoyed me with jest, leapt from leaky roof spill to piano bench, screeching, sharks! With teeth, you tested a nugget of rosin. It's gold, we're rich. Now I glimpse you in a dark studio. As if living, you danced toward me, then swerved to frolic in the window's streetlight glow. The critic mirrors hang mute. Body starved to harpstring, you hasten your waltz and blur to perfect vapor. At last, you are air. This is for another dancer. He was one of the guys I sometimes partnered with. He was about 10 years older, kind of a big brother. Hearing Gershwin brings you back. I knew the soft of your strong chest, sweat that sprayed as you spun, tension that inflicted your jaw, and the plie prep for tour on l'air. Snug in a canvas shoe, your foot formed a distinctive arch. Powerful legs propelled leaps that let you pause aloft like an oracle of God. And my reverence grew when you warned your handsy friend, leave the jailbait alone. Your Gershwin choreography raced slick on the tickle of keys, then punctuated their pound. 1, 2, tip of the hat, kick, cross, glide like a cat. I was frightened rehearsing our angel lift. I ran hard and jumped for you to grab my hips and swing me to arm's length over your head. On the fulcrum of your palms, I arched my back and struggled for balance. He said, I won't let you fall. Hard to imagine one so strong, gone. All that is left to do now is to remember the good on that long journey home in your old Mustang, believing I'd fallen asleep, your hand stroking my hair. This poem came out of a prompt, you know. I'm supposed to write a poem with snow and a violin in it, and you know, poets never follow directions, so there's no violin in this poem. But one of the things I say to my kids on the phone when they call is, you know, do something fun today. I think we all kind of need to do something fun today, like go to a poetry marathon. So this is called Strings of Heat. He cannot see the flakes, but from inside his dark house, hears the hush of their thick fall and pulls his sweater closer. When he releases the catch on his watch crystal and touches the hands underneath, he sees it is too early for bed. So he sits on a kitchen chair, listening for a long time to the stillness, until he is so cold he retreats to the hall closet, feels for the coarse wool of his coat, chases a scarf as it falls into the front left corner, and there he discovers the dusty case of his abandoned cello. When he snaps open the cool metal latches, he is wrapped in the warm smell of rosin and wood. He draws out the bow, lifts the instrument by its slender neck, and plucks and twists to bring it into tune. Finally, he hugs its curves between his legs and massages its strings for the fire of its familiar voice. How had he forgotten? Thank you so much.
Jack Burgess, one half of the very famous poetry family, and we'll give the other half in a minute.
If you're still awake, give me a month. Good. No, how could we sleep? These are great. Thank you, Mim. And Fred, is he here? Yeah, okay.
Jack, pull it toward you.
Do what?
Pull the microphone toward you.
Hello? Like that. Okay, this is my thank you poem. Thank you, Mim and Fred. Thank you for coming to hear these poems. I hope you like what you hear, or hear what you want.
Applause, please, applause.
Or even what you need. The words are your words, jumbled around, sifted through a few decades of happiness, pain, and discovery. Of course, you have to set pins in a bowling alley, busting a few fingers, salute for a couple of years in the U.S. Army, and be a father of 4, or at least 3, teach in a public school, maybe walk a picket line, or sit quietly by one of Hennepin's lakes, to use these exact words in this exact way. But I think you get what I mean. This poem is brought to you by the makers of damn near everything that forces people to write poems. Stuff that doesn't fit neatly, spills out of the head onto the page. The evening news, death of a friend, love of your life, one too many broken promises by fall short politicians, a war too far, impending demise, the laugh of a child. I hope your modem is plugged in so you can unscramble these pictures. No special effects, cute puppies, naked nymphs, or buff boys. The music is all in our heads. I hope you can hear it. That it's not too obscure to catch your attention or too ordinary to hold. If so, you can always go to the bar, and don't forget it's a proven fact, when you leave a large tip for the bartender or the wait staff, you definitely contribute to world peace. That's from reading in the room. Now this poem is entitled This Poem. This poem isn't about me, although I'm in it. This is a really big poem. You're in it. Pretty much everyone's in it. It's about everything. With me and you wandering around looking for a way out, or a way all the way in. The wars are in it, and the suffering of it. Children dying on beaches or by riverbanks. Thousands huddled in cold tents in winter. But peace is in it too, and sunshine. Though the sun doesn't fill the whole poem, sometimes I wish it did. But when God or Einstein made the world, it was decided we have to have contrast. Damn shame. Makes me wonder what all sunlight, all love, all happiness, all the time would look like. I thank Mimi and Fred. I want to thank you for your service. Thank you for your service. I'm a veteran. Sometimes you can say thank you for your service. You who never wore a uniform, but marched to every anti-war rally. Through the rain and snow, through the shouts of those who called you a traitor. You served your country too. Got us out of worse wars. You who stayed behind as your father or mother went to war, who waved the flag but wondered, thank you for voting for the lesser of two war parties, for complaining of the cost of the military-industrial complex. Thank you for every life saved from destruction, whether in our uniform or theirs, or maybe just a kid trying to grow up here in our promised land or sun-baked places of mostly sand. Thank you for that service. A really wonderful thing happened to me this year. I had a phone call from a friend I hadn't seen since 1950. I know most of you weren't born then, but we did have phones back then. We have now, and he called me. So this is called Friendship, Al and Jack. You never know when a friend might appear. Someone from south of the border, maybe. Dark eyes, strong voice, strong hand to challenge or help you with things you have to do. Bringing stories, sharing family, shaking hands, wrestling you to the ground maybe. Then up with a laugh, telling stories. So Al appeared from the edge of our world, edging into our play. Later, sharing a story, a family, a mom who could cook really well. And you knew good cooks from your own Appalachian mom, grandmoms and such. Years and years later, the two boys, now grown old and living away, talked for hours on the phone about when they were boys, what they did along the way. Still good friends, blood brothers, after all the years. Thank you Mexico, for sending this family north to share their lives, their story with us. We would not be us without them. All right, this one's gonna be, sink in your chair a little bit. This is a little bit scary. This is called the Parable of the Great Swamp. For it came to pass that a great oracle, who was learned and wise, had warned the people of impending doom, or at least bad times, if they continued their ways of waste. But this oracle was called in derision the Goracle. And alas, the Goracle was ignored and even vilified. He is not the kind we would want to drink a beer with, said the mighty Newsglom, who is the source of most of the people's knowledge. And so the people continued in their ways, which is their wont, to burn and devour, multiply and create beyond the natural means of the land and Mother Earth to live in harmony. They did this because it was pleasant and easy to do so, and because the Newsglom owners did get wealthy beyond all imagining as the people bought and sold. And so the rains came, and the winds blew mightily, and the seas rose, and the land was covered with salt. Devastation was everywhere seen across the land, and the poets wept. The poets wept, for they had foreseen what had now befallen and knew that the Goracle was right. And in a dire need, the people called upon the great White Father in Washington, who came out of his tower playing golf at the time. When he heard the news of the great devastation, he decided to leave the comfort of his clubhouse and travel forth to make a show, at least, of helping the people in their hour of need. Thus, he could be made even more important, and his fame more undying. But lo, when his mighty airship landed and traveled forth by limousine, he stopped where the road ended, and there he saw a small boy crying, alone and sore afraid. Seeing that the cameras were on him, the Great One stepped forth to accost this small, white-skinned boy who was crying the more in fear. "Tell me why you cry," he asked. And as he did so, he remembered himself as a small boy, when he had cried alone in his room, having only a painted donkey on his shirt to love. And no one came, until his father said, "Be still, little one, or I will give you something to cry about," and struck him hard with his hand, so that he stopped crying, and vowed in his heart, when he was grown, he would dominate all around him and never need to cry. Then the little white-skinned boy said to the Great One, "I am crying because my dearest friend has fallen into this big crack in the road made by the great storm. There is my friend's hand, but I cannot reach it, as I am a small boy and not strong enough anyway." The Great One stepped to where the boy knelt, and he knelt beside him, surprising his guards and sycophants who had never seen him kneel, never seen the great red tie touch the ground. Then the Great One reached forth his own pink hand to pull the little friend out of the earth's crack. And when he did so, he saw that the little brown hand belonged to a very tiny girl, who was crying in fear of the crack in the earth, the horrible storm that had passed, and the strange hand that now gripped hers. As she arose, the Great One saw her tears, saw her tentative smile, saw her friend's smile, and something stirred in his chest. It might have been his heart, though he'd also been known as the heartless one. As he pulled the little one up out of danger, she said unmistakably, "Gracias, Señor," and wept tears of joy. And then, to everyone's surprise, the Great One, too, wiped a tear with his own smallish hand. When the news throng saw this, they rejoiced, for this was a new angle. "Glory," they shouted in unison and variations thereof, as nothing is so valuable to the news throng as a new angle. And so began the 24/7 coverage of how the Great One found his heart. From where he watched at a distance, the oracle too could be seen to wipe the small tear of hope. I have just one more. This one's for a special person called "I Married a Poet." Imagine that. I married a poet who stood alone on the edge of the stage on a windy street, her hair blending with the wind and white clouds, straw hat like the sail of tacking this way and that. Her words pronounced benediction on the old city near the theater arch in Ohio's first capital. I sat bespelled as her onstage figure benedicted the city we've grown to love as our home now. She planted a home on the city's edge. She planted flowers and trees and love at the edge of the yard, on the edge of the city, on the edge of a new day. She said real poems as the band waited, and my heart flew to her, and it didn't rain.
Here's the subject of that poem. Actually, MJ Abel, get ready, and then Fred and I will sing.
Okay.
for you.
Well, thank you for all of you who are still here and have made it through the poetry marathon. And thank you, Mim, and thank you, Fred. And the Bexley librarians. Okay. This is just slightly political. It's called People We Know. And each stanza starts with people we know. People we know pose opposable thumbs to mock someone who thinks 1 or 2 thumbs up is cool. Poetry in a shell of justified lines runs over the page and in all ears as bodies keep running from the border to escape chaotic capture
by officials with their chains and prods in foreign prisons. We struggle against oppressors to get under the skin of those who should be incarcerated, they and their quisling minions. Then we may begin again, fresh as honey-scented tulips, budding open, opening and opening until their rays form a circle, cleansed of revenge dreams, cleansed of pessimism, of lies and worries, the way hope and friends renew us, like each day's sun-up until we're connected to all good. People we know want to express themselves in creative ways, musical or painted or literary, that may lack traditional grammar, shape, blowing wild with keyed breath and non-linearity, and a mix of instruments and voices of diversity, equity, and inclusion. This is what oppressors do not admire in us, or even mean us to have in the United States. This is what oppressors want to stamp out, frighten us from, so they have all power at their disposal, despite our indelible Constitution. They want money to take the place of rules, kindness, order, as if every flower or every person must be the same size, shape, color, and politics. Unlike people we know, like poems that change feelings and understanding, or people we may not know, have never met, as well as people we hold very close and quarrel with, but value and who hug us back, these people we know. All right, this is Firecracker. This is a home poem, a children's poem. After One-Eyed, One-Horned, Flying Purple People Eater by Sheb Woolley. Girls, unlike boys, weren't allowed to camp at 3 walnut trees we called the tree fort. So I wanted to scare the bejesus out of them, or at least keep them from sleeping that night. I played the opening screams from One-Eyed, One-Horned, Flying Purple People Eater. It had topped Billboard pop charts for 9 weeks so far in the US, Canada, Australia. Scream, scream, scream. The older girls wanted to rile those boys too, especially Barb, who lived near the tree fort and knocked at our front door at dark. Asked if we had firecrackers. I was deeply shocked when law-abiding Mom climbed to a top cupboard to find little old red ones hidden behind rarely used jars. She grew up igniting firecrackers with 5 brothers, said, no big deal. Barb said she knew what she was doing too. Of course, it was 1958, Ohio, and all fireworks, including firecrackers, were still illegal. So Barb and her friends didn't really know how to strike a match, flare a wick, throw the firecracker quickly enough, quick, boom! Barb burned one eye, a finger and thumb numb. She ran back to Mom, who dumped her burned hand in ice water, applied antiseptic, bandages, walked her home, and explained to Barb's mom what had happened. Distressed, embarrassed, Mom admitted she gave Barb the firecrackers. She promised never again to give danger sticks to kids. My mom's gone. Barb's too. We're both old now. Decades ago, we moved away from our hometown, but we text each other often and every 4th of July. Our youth has crackled, burned, as youth will. Thank you. This is fretwork. Morning fog spirals leaf to leaf, drizzle's cold fat drops, late summer wake me up. A clerical tribunal of trees, hulked by a creek. Look around. Can you see touch-me-nots, pale and bursting? White snakeroot, asters. Goldenrods claim the meadow where bees and butterflies collect pollen for nectar. Instinct seasons wildlife for what's to come. Above the mist, smoke from western fires dims the radiant pearl of our sun. Workers clustered near Park Service trucks nod and murmur, blending puffs of breath with steaming wafts of coffee. Silver threads of spiderweb cup dry brown ribs of Queen Anne's lace, where suspended drops of fog recall strings and sandbag weights Antoni Gaudí inverted to construct Sagrada Familia. Goldfinches, too, a sacred family, festooned the sky with looming strands of disappearing flight. Resilient bones, light in feathered stroke and glide, lift through mist, dissolving as it rises, until on beaded worlds below, a blue, belated shine. Thank you. And this is a crazy poem. This is Bound for the Promised Land / I Shall Be Released. One of the daughters of Dad's second wife arranged for the funeral. She asked me to sit beside her, first row, a woman I'd met only once at her mother's funeral. Dad's service droned on like too many, as the evangelical rhetoric praised Dad's virtue as a soldier for Christ, educator, saintly family man whom the preacher might have known through Dad's own depiction of himself during card games or shtick, not to speak ill of the dead. Oh, the true stories I could have shared. The preacher's slick pompadour might have opened its mutton chop wings to fly, seeking an honest man bound for heaven. The wig might have thought it could reach that glory land too, for hadn't it pricked that preacher's scalp each time the man of God bent to breaking one or more of the 10 Commandments? I'll never know if the wig was its preacher's keeper, or one held against its will at the funeral, like me. And this is Cloud. A stylus writing static on a vinyl record, mother's alto voice, faint, scratchy, says, clean well and not with a lick and a promise. That cloud follows us room to room, points out dust mote, smudge on mirror, spot unpolished. The oxygen concentrator mutters in her bedroom, the bed not slept in for days. My daughter, her first grandchild, senses the angry cloud, as though mom is facing she's dead, and there is no heaven. And this is fabric for Jack. An old friend has joined alone what her community calls that gay church. She's left her button-down, steepled house of worship, one she attended decades with her husband, dead 2 years, unlike mine. She lives her values the way we should. She studies Bible verses, intones responsive readings after clergy, sings hymns in the choir. I wish I could believe in such things, a church, a God of goodness, heaven. Family, friends, as imperfect as we all are, encourage the best in us. In company with you who seek truths, we listen read, clarify senses, words, worlds, inspire. My husband on loan for a life shared 45 years makes dreams happen. We are not given forever. I wish it weren't so, as does he. We irk each other some, but repair each rent. Insistent, we share affection, emotions. We tend these hearts, mend each fray in our love affair. And two more. This is Winter of Our Discontent, after the science fiction movie Forbidden Planet. Brown grass, aluminum tree, lit by a colored rotating disc. No snow. Elder of two, I wished for a theremin. Do you know what a theremin is? Yes. Okay. And a robot to ward off neighborhood boys with preteen weirdnesses. Little brother and I were obsessed by a movie-sized flying saucer at Gloria Theater in the drama of an American crew searching for the survivors of an earlier space probe. They found the home of survivor Dr. Morbius, his daughter Alta, Robbie the robot. None knew he'd made an invisible clawfoot inn monster, like one that destroyed the Krell civilization and his space crew. The monster bent spaceship steps and tore apart American crew members while it trumpeted like a triumphant elephant and absorbed energy streamed across a force field fence. I wished for a Roberta robot to clean the house, find my homework under a pile of comics and books. Then to fix us French fries for supper. I wanted to be daughter of Morbius. Alta's father used Krell technology to enhance their lives, but Commander Adams, aware of dangers in untamed ego, confronted Morbius, flew cute ponytailed Alta to new life as his wife on Earth. Morbius, victim of his own id, blew himself, Robbie, Krell machinery, and planet Altair 4 away. Even in the 1950s, Americans warred among themselves. Later, my brother unwrapped his new robot, another Robbie robot, and used it to hammer apart my rhinestone necklace on his toy workbench while eating Cheerios for extra energy. On Mars, red sunlight is scattered opposite to Earth's blue light, and so our sunsets are both opposite too. This is On Mars for Jack Burgess. Alien and wild in this cold, distant world, I'm blue, while the crimson sun of desire slumps over a Midwest harvest of sear spines and ears of corn, skeletal soybeans leaving behind dry stubs, churned clouds of exhaustion. Blue as a mourning dove's mating call, as Sunhouse pounding his slide guitar, preaching the blues, as Lady Day's trodden flat melody, as strange fruits. I remember the heavenly blue morning glory, cornflower, love in a mist, Ulysses and blue moon butterflies, blueberry, blackberry, plum, lives, love's invisible bruises. Blue as children's lips, black raspberry lick-sickled tongues, curious blues, crayons to ink. Older, we dropped blue jeans and shirts to the barn floor, clung together under blue-eyed stars. Wild kisses, something old, something blue. Some say blue as summer skies, bright blue for days and miles, but pale sapphire, overreaches of bluish white sun sinking then gone. Oh blues, can I live another bleak black Martian night, so far from home, so far, my love, from you, my North Star, your shaft of light inscribed in my bones.
I think you like him. Friends with MJ Abell, let's give her an extra applause.
Yeah, I cracked up.
It takes such patience to do this. And we're happy that we're all here. And what a great variety we've heard today. And how lucky we are to have these people. I'm verklempt.
Thank you, Mim and Fred. I'm so delighted to be here. I feel I'm kind of in this new, more expansive stage of my life, and the first two poems are related to that. The first one is partly connected to an article I read that was actually a scientific study that birds are using unusual things in their nests now, like spikes. And all the things I mentioned in this poem come from that article of things that were used to build nests. Unfolding. I'm unfolding wings too long kept tight. Undersides now revealed, majestic. The tender place where they join my body now open to currents. I've known this was possible. I felt the cramping, yet settled, deferred. Tell me, have you? I'm recreating my nest, repurposing like the common coot who snatches windshield wipers, sunglasses, plastic carnations, condoms, and envelopes used to package cocaine. I'll convert hostile architecture into a home like magpies do, stealing the metal spikes meant to discourage them from the fine perches of rooftops and ledges. I'm weaving my nest bright with bits of sari silk, hair ribbons lost on playgrounds, balloons caught on branches, white twine, pale blue fishing line. Yes, it will all work. I will nest and perch as I wish, where I wish, and glide. Watch me glide. This next poem was inspired by this collage bounty cloak. It's by Luana Kaufman, who has a lovely shop in Fells Point, Maryland, and also has lots of wonderful things online. Bounty cloak. Oh, see how much my bounty cloak has gathered, and still empty, magnetic, will draw in more. The spread of my arms, that's the secret. The openness, the daring reach, the abandon. And you, see how grand you are when you take your full space. Wonders cannot help but come when you call them this way, trusting in abundance, chest open, feet bare, one leg raised as you lean into a dance. Yes, it is a dance, this reaching and gathering, spreading your bounty cloak, revealing and welcoming my dear who hears my call, my foundling. This next poem comes from the early days of COVID, when we weren't quite sure what we were dealing with. And I just think that's an important time to go back to. So on the way to get my mammogram early in COVID.
I hear on the BBC we are, after all, a herd. Mammals living together, spreading virus, panicking about toilet paper, canceling, thinking twice, instead of a movie, happy hour someplace small, wiping down our counters and doorknobs and planes. I found a Purell refill half full in my laundry room. No expiration. I haven't told anyone yet that I have it. I'm not sure I would share. No one is telling us not to share, except handshakes and spaces less than 6 feet. Just not to panic and hoard, and to keep washing our hands, even the backs, singing happy birthday twice in our heads. We are a herd without hooves, but we have breasts we must scan. In the waiting room, I'd update my record. Still don't understand why uterine sarcoma, my mother's, is not a disease they have a box for. Or only breast and ovarian cancer. I thought here I could speak her name. I'm letting her down. They're letting me down. A cheery woman leads me to a dressing room named for Tina Turner, one of the best of our herd, to strip above the waist and slide into a white belted robe. We are Tina, Maya, Mother Teresa, and Yoko, waiting in warmed cotton. Flipping glossy pages, I fall for Helen Mirren in a black fedora. It's not L'Oreal showing me how to age, but Helen, her bold stare strengthening me. Yes, now is the time. I don't steal the magazine because I'm with the mammogram herd, each doing something good for herself. And Mother Teresa is slipping bottled water across from me. I'll buy the issue, so much to cope with. I need to look at this Helen every day, learn to level my chin that way. Two more poems, and the first is from a task probably many of you have faced, going through a loved one's possessions. And this is called Garage Sale. Today the wallpaper brush moves me first, imagining my mother's hand clasping it, smoothing gold and bittersweet medallions typed to the dining room wall. The oil and sweat of her fingers darken the handle, the bristles curl. Is it even good enough for the 50-cent box? I stroke the air with the brush, fingers gripping where hers did. So many rooms to this grief. Whole days she would climb up and down the ladder, spreading the paste with a paintbrush, carefully aligning the pattern, sealing to baseboard, smoothing each strip with this brush. A teen, I did what I could, filling the paste pan as she transformed each room. In her last month, I brought her pills the way she wanted, in her pressed glass pickle dish. Nurses never touch pills. You shouldn't either. I brought oat and cherry drawers for her to sort as she lay in a hospital bed in the family room. Old maps, handkerchiefs, church gloves, garters, everything you always wanted to know about sex but were afraid to ask. She sorted herself as well. She should have kept that job, spacing the words for tombstones, not folded to her mother's pressure to take an office job that paid $0.25 an hour more. Her life is disassembled here in the garage, pink Pyrex bowls unnested. Yesterday, we filled the long tables, lost between price and meaning. No pattern to align, no way to make these edges meet. I am her jumble of remnants, her empty planters. We open the garage door. People are waiting to rifle the linens to spot an underpriced antique. I pull the wallpaper brush into my box, then put it back on the table. All day long, I scan for things too precious for our yellow tags. In the end, no one buys the brush. I take it home. This last poem, you're the first ones to hear it. It is for Sandy Fiend's project, You've Been Poemed. She is still accepting poems for it until September 30th. And I wrote just a description of what she's looking for. But, so you write a poem on a vivid 3x5 card and you put it somewhere or give it to someone. And she already has a publisher, Sheila Nage, for this book next year. So feel free to take the instructions. Last month, we welcomed our first granddaughter. For those of you who know, I raised 3 sons. This is like really huge. And so I decided I was going to write something to put in Zoe's bassinet. Oh, and here's the picture. But Zoe, you've been poemed. Pile up. If you trace back far enough, the word poet comes from to pile up. To Caden at nearly 4, a pile-up happens when asteroids strike a circus and torch the nearby woods. The people and animals escape, except for a scared young rhino, but that's another story. Since Zoe at 2 weeks can't pile up anything, I'll heap blessings for her. Curiosity with caution as needed, great health and great hair. A feeling of being protected, knowing when to let someone or something go. The same things I would wish for you. Poets, artists, let's keep piling up. Layer words, layer paint. Weavers, make cloth strong enough to bear our hearts. Elders, rain down wisdom, incantations to carry us forward. Pile up, the world needs us.
MJA,
Next year, right? Next year? All right.
We promised that we would each read a poem. Of course, we promise each other. You guys can read. But anyway, it was wonderful to have you stay and appreciate and enjoy and how lucky we are. And what else is there to say but thank you to everyone. Well, just reading this one poem because I'm sick of getting questionnaires. I'm sure you're all getting, everything is a questionnaire. They just have a whole company that just sends out questionnaires. Anyway, this is my questionnaires. Date of birth. Listen, I was pulled out from a warm, snug time, plunged into the shock of light and sounds. The calendar was too high on the wall to make out numbers. Remember, I didn't know how to read that day. Name. I have never answered to my birth name. Those who don't know me say that name. When I hear it, I look around to see who's rising to the call. Wait, when? Upon awakening, my legs heavy as tree trunks, playing roots on the hard floor. Later, I swing through noon, flying, skimming, floating on the soft spring grass. What scales measure those weights? Race. I know no black, white, red, and yellow people. Write that I am beige, dotted with dark sprinkled spots on my cream-colored arms. Sex, absolutely. Height, standing or slouching. Eye color, blue, caught in wrinkles, no promises can touch. Hair color, gray, mixed with brown, white mixed with gray, every strand earned. Add a comment or comment. 1. Include these answers. Undecided, all of the above, never, always, sometimes. 0 to 10, 10 to 0, does not apply. 2, are you a robot? If not, you might ask questions like, what are your favorite colors, animals, flowers, places? Where do you want to go? What are your seasons? Who are your heroes? What words save your life? 3, if you are not a robot, take my hand. I will walk anywhere with you. Just talk. Don't ask. In case you don't know it, he's also the haiku king of Columbus.
Oh, one of them, maybe. Thank you, thank you. Hey, thanks everybody for coming. This has been great. We'll do it again next year.
Yeah.
Well, this poem is called If I Knew. So little time, and if I knew I would rush out into streets and alleys, down to the sunny marsh to watch herons fish. I would take up with the neighborhood, make acquaintance with the Labrador who barks in the yard and needs a walk, and I would offer to walk him. I would call you up and say, let's meet and talk about everything. Let's meet before the sun goes down, drink cups of delicious coffee, get to know each other again before I take off on my spring bicycle whose tires I have just pumped up, and I'd ride hands-free like a child. And if I knew how little time, I'd lie in bed with her the whole evening after a crispy salad and vegetable lasagna, and we would watch the late show, chuckle, and fall asleep. I would wake in the early dark morning, kneel by the window, listen for the train's horn as it hauls freight from mysterious Indiana, and the night moon still rides high. I would do these things. I would celebrate the very sidewalks. I would call out to the world, to all the world, love this, love me. There was so little time.